Hi and welcome. Today I will teach you how to make your own elf system in Unity. Let's start. I've made the basic scene just to test things out. So we have a player, an enemy and a floor, which are all basic shape, capsule, and the floor is a plane. The first step will be to create our first script, which won't be a class. It will be an interface that we'll call iElf. I will double click on it to open it. Once opened, we will erase the basic text made by Unity. And since it's an interface and not a class, we will write down interface here and delete mono behavior. And we call this iElf because basically every interface we create has to start with a big I. The way we are going to use the interface here is to create the method that will be shared by every components that will need elf. So we will create the public void take damage method, which will take an int damage. You can make it with float if your game needs float, and it's done. The next step will be to create our player script, which will implement the iElf interface. So let's make it. We double click on it. Delete everything Unity made. The first step will be to create a serialized field, private int variable called maxElf. We will create another which will store the current elf. So the serialized field means that we will be able to see the variable here and modify it like if it was public, but we don't use public here because we don't need other classes to see our variable. It will only be used inside the player class. The next step will be to implement the interface, the iElf interface. So we can check here, we have an error saying the player class doesn't implement the iElf members. So this one, since we only have one, the take damage, either we create it exactly the same here and the error is gone, or we can just press Alt Enter and implement interface. So we'll just make a debug.log in here to test things out. We'll say the player hit, and we will say how much damage he took. Here we go. Then the next step is to remove the elf that's been damaged. So elf minus equal, which means elf equal elf minus damage in this case, and we will just add a basic check to see if the player is dead. We will make elf is less or equal to 0. Oops. T here. So if the elf of our player is less or equal to 0, then it means the player is dead. So we will just make a simple debug.log player died, and we can destroy the game object if we need it. And here is our finished class player. We will now create a new class for our enemy. We open it, delete the boilerplate, and we will make the same code than our player. It's not you're not forced to make the same. You can implement another logic, but for simplicity here I will make exactly the same. Same serialize field, because we don't need any public field here. Now we will implement our interface, implement, and we will make the exact same function that we made before. So we tell in the console that the enemy has been hit, and we will say how much damage he took. Once done, we will reduce the health of the player, minus equal damage, and we will make the check to see if the enemy is dead. Make a debug, enemy die, and we will destroy the game object too. Once again, you are not forced to make the same implementation, but for simplicity I will do this way. We will now make a small script to test things out. So this one won't be, we will call it controller first. We will double click it to open it, erase everything, and I'm not going to explain everything. You'll just copy this one, it's just for testing purpose. So we have a field to write down the damage we will apply to our object, and here with this code we will just create a raycast that should from the camera to in the direction that the mouse is pointing in your scene. So we will then get the health component of the object we hit. If there is any one and we don't find a null, we will then call the take damage function that we created here in our iHealth interface. We will now drag our scripts onto our objects. So the controller goes on the main camera. We will say we deal 10 damage per click. We will take the player and drag the player script on it. We will say the player has 20 health and 20 max health. We will then say to the drag to the enemy script. We'll say the enemy has 50 health and 50 max health, and we can launch the scene. In the play mode, we will start by checking on the main camera, so we deal 10 damage per click. We'll first try with the player, so we'll click on the player. Let's see, the player is hit and has 10 damage points applied. Here the health is decreasing by 10, so we click one more time and it should disappear. So it works. Let's try on our enemy. 30, 20, 10, and we can change to test things out. Let's apply 5. The enemy has 10 health, 5, and is dead. Our system is now complete. I hope it will be helpful in your next project. In the next video, we'll cover creating the UI for our health system. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what could be improved or if you need any further clarification on any of the topics I covered. I'll be happy to help. See you soon. Bye.